The summit of Mount Kailash was not merely a mountain peak. It was the sacred axis of the universe, a silent sanctuary carved from the eternal void where Shiva, the Mahayogi, sat in perpetual meditation. He was the great paradox, the destroyer of worlds, yet the source of deepest serenity. The ash-smeared ascetic, yet the lord of the cosmos. For epochs, Shiva had remained motionless, his eyes half closed, his breath barely stirring the air, immersed in the vast silence of his inner self. His detachment was absolute, a protective shield that kept the turbulent energy of the Tandava, the dance of destruction, perpetually contained. This stillness was the universe's ultimate safety lock, ensuring the continuity of the cycles of creation and maintenance overseen by Brahma and Vishnu. The entire cosmic flow, the rhythm of life, death, and rebirth, known as samsara, depended on the regulated non-action of the Mahadev. But even the perfect rhythm of the cosmos is vulnerable to decay, not through speed or sudden chaos, but through insidious, creeping inertia. This decay manifested as Kalasam, the demon of eternal stagnation, who sought to dissolve all motion, all time, into a single, permanent, lifeless moment. Kalasam was not born of rage or lust, but of profound existential weariness, an ancient desire for the universe to simply stop trying. He began his work subtly, a slow-motion poison that seeped from the edges of creation into the central pulse of reality. The ceaseless thrumming of Kala time, Brahma, seated on his lotus, felt his creative thoughts grow sluggish. The moment of conception for new life stretched into agonizing eternities. Vishnu, the preserver, noticed the cosmic waters freezing into still, stagnant pools, and the stars slowing their majestic spiral across the night sky. On Earth, mortals experienced the creeping dread most acutely. A farmer could spend an entire day raising his tool, only for the sun to have barely moved. The seasons refused to turn. Infants remained in the womb, far past their term. Even the thoughts in the minds of the sages became viscous and slow. Samsara, the beautiful, relentless cycle of becoming, was seizing up, strangled by Kalasam's oppressive desire for absolute quietude. The lesser gods, terrified, flew to Vaikuntha to implore Vishnu. But the preserver's energy was also draining, fighting the drag of the demon's force. Only the primal energy of the destroyer can confront this stillness, Vishnu murmured, his voice heavy with the effort of articulation. Only the Tandava can restart time. But Shiva remained aloof on Kailash, the frozen stillness of the cosmos mirroring the absolute stillness of his meditation. He was the embodiment of non-attachment. The suffering of the temporal realm could not touch the one who transcended time itself. The task of rousing him fell to Parvati, the Divine Mother, who was simultaneously his consort and the dynamic force Shakti that animated his stillness. Parvati, radiant and vital, approached her lord, her movements unnaturally slow as she fought the increasing inertia caused by Kalasam. As she spoke, her voice cutting through the thick, viscous silence of Kailash like a diamond blade. My lord, the time for withdrawal is past. The cycle stops not because of destruction, but because of stagnation. Your stillness is now serving the very demon you are meant to subdue. Shiva did not open his eyes, but his third eye, normally invisible in his deep yoga, glowed faintly beneath his skin. The universe is Maya, the illusion of form and flow. Shiva's voice resonated. An echo of cosmic Om. Its cessation is merely the end of a dream. But the dream still holds truth for Brahma and Vishnu, Parvati countered fiercely. And within the dream, there is suffering. Your duty is to the truth of the cycle, my lord, not its abandonment. She reminded him that the cosmos needed the rhythmic breath of life and death. Without destruction, preservation had no meaning. Kalasam, sensing the divine intervention, intensified his spell, causing the sacred Ganga flowing from Shiva's hair to slow into near immobility. Parvati placed her hand on his knee, and the touch of his Shakti was the one force that could reach beyond the barrier of his samadhi meditative trance. She did not plead, simply evoked the necessary truth. The universe needs its destroyer. Before there is nothing left to destroy, only eternal sleep. A flicker crossed Shiva's lips. He acknowledged the terrible truth. Stagnation was a form of eternal, irreversible death, far worse than any apocalypse. If Kalasam succeeded, even the potential for rebirth would cease. The cosmic dance floor, would become a tomb. Slowly, agonizingly, Shiva opened his three eyes. The first to beheld the suffering cosmos. The third, the fiery eye of knowledge, burned away the last vestiges of his non-attachment. He rose from his meditation mat, a motion that took effort equivalent to shattering 1,000,000,000 suns, fighting the resistance of Kalasum's inertia. The great yogi now began his transformation into Nataraja, the king of the dance. His tangled locks, the abode of the celestial river Ganga, began to whip around his head, the first movement in the frozen universe. The moon crescent he wore, which had been dull, now shone with a startling, defiant light. He drew his feet up, balancing on the left leg, his posture shifting from that of a mountain to that of a poised, loaded spring. The transformation was so profound, so absolute in its focus, that for a single terrifying instant, the entire universe held its breath. This was the dance that stopped time, not because the dance was slow, but because the intensity of Shiva's intent overloaded the very concept of temporal flow. In that instant between the end of his stillness and the beginning of his motion, Kala-time itself paused, overwhelmed by the energy of the transition. The gods felt a terrifying void, the silence before sound, the potential before manifestation. Then Shiva brought his right foot down, and the universe screamed back into existence, accelerated by the shockwave of his divine power. This single beat of the Damaru hand drum, which Shiva now held, restarted the rhythm of reality, the primal sound of creation. The dance had begun, not as an act of rage, but as an act of cosmic CPR, a violent jolt to a dying heart. The first movements of the Sandhya Tandava, the twilight dance, were slow, majestic, and terrible to behold, each step a crushing declaration of energy. His left hand was raised in the Gajahasta Mudra, the elephant's trunk gesture, signifying the trampling of illusion. His right hand, holding the Damaru, beat a furious, accelerating rhythm, storing the sequence of moments to the frozen timeline. His steps became faster, a blur of primordial energy. Each rotation of his body was a spinning of galaxies. The cosmic dust of creation was kicked up beneath his feet, becoming the raw material for Brahma's subsequent creations. Fire, the element of transformation, blazed forth from the ring around him, a purifying fire that consumed the lingering stagnation in the atmosphere. Kalasum, the demon of eternal stagnation, was forced out of hiding, repulsed by the aggressive vibrancy of the dance. The demon was large, heavy, and seemingly impossible to move, a lead weight on the floor of the cosmos. He had no malice, only the crushing desire for inertia, an emptiness that threatened to swallow all motion into a black hole of boredom. Kalasum did not fight with weapons. He fought by trying to stop Shiva's feet, making the ground beneath him incredibly dense and sticky. Shiva's feet sunk into the ground with every step, the effort to pull them free nearly overwhelming even the great god. He saw the true nature of the enemy, not a demon of evil, but a demon of overwhelming passivity. Shiva realized that conventional destruction would fail. He could burn Kalasum 1,000,000,000 times, but the desire for cessation would simply reform. The solution was not to destroy stagnation, but to force it into the rhythm of change. Shiva shifted the focus of his dance from pure destruction to ultimate integration. His movements became impossibly complex, incorporating not just the vigorous steps of the Rudra Tandava, but the graceful, feminine poses of the Lasya dance as well. He was demonstrating the entire spectrum of existence, creation, preservation, destruction, illusion, and grace, all in one magnificent, terrifying performance. The cosmic audience, gods, asuras, Gandharvas, and all beings were mesmerized, unable to look away from the divine spectacle. Kalasum struggled, the rhythm of the Damaru demanding that he move, that he participate in the flow he so desperately wished to avoid. With a powerful final stomp, Shiva lifted his left leg high above his head in the iconic pose of Nataraja. This leg represented liberation, the final kick that breaks the chain of bondage. But instead of destroying Kalasum, Shiva's foot descended onto the demon's back, not to crush him entirely, but to pin him. The pressure was immense, transforming the demon of stagnation into Apasmara, the dwarf of forgetfulness. Kalasum was not annihilated. He was defeated and subdued, forced beneath the crushing weight of the cosmic cycle he tried to end. Apasmara, now pinned beneath Shiva's dancing foot, became the foundation upon which the entire universe could safely spin. His existence was now necessary, a constant, a level reminder of the inertia that must always be actively overcome by the rhythmic dance of life. As the dance concluded, Shiva slowed his breath and lowered his arms, the blazing ring of fire receding. The universe burst forth with renewed energy, the flow of Kala now running faster, cleaner, and stronger than before. Brahma resumed his creation with fervent clarity. Vishnu smiled, and the cosmic waters flowed once more with vibrant, life-sustaining energy. The mortals on earth felt a tremendous surge of vitality, able to accomplish tasks in moments that had taken them hours. The seasons began to shift instantly. Shiva, once again, the tranquil yogi, looked down at Apasmara pinned beneath his foot. "Be warned, dwarf," he said, his voice now gentle but firm. "Should you ever rise fully, the dance will be more final." Parvati stood beside him, her gaze filled with profound admiration. "You did not destroy the negative. You disciplined it into necessary service. The victory was not one of brute force, but of supreme wisdom, the realization that nothing is truly outside the cycle, not even the desire for the cycle to end." Shiva had shown that the greatest power of the destroyer is not the power to terminate, but the power to transform. He had used the energy of his own detached meditation, the energy of his self-control, to fuel the most dynamic act the cosmos had ever witnessed. The dance that stopped time was thus understood. It was the moment the destroyer chose to take responsibility for the preservation of the cycle. It was the moment the great god chose to temporarily abandon the bliss of his internal silence for the necessary noise of cosmic duty. The core of his character was revealed, the compassion of the ascetic who sacrifices his own peace for the continuity of the universe. His dance remains the ultimate symbol of the Hindu worldview, that every ending is simply a prelude to a new beginning, and that chaos is just rhythm waiting to be heard. The lessons of the dance echo through the ages, reminding mortals that stagnation is the true enemy of life, not change. Change, even destructive change, is merely the mechanism of cosmic breathing, the inhalation and exhalation of existence. Shiva, now back in his eternal contemplation, carried the knowledge of his choice, knowledge rooted in action, not just stillness. He knew his stillness was only valuable because he possessed the terrifying capacity for motion. The energy debt he incurred in fighting Kalasam remains, a permanent testament to the power of deliberate, conscious intervention. The story of Nataraja teaches us that the path to true self-mastery is found in balancing the power to engage with the discipline to withdraw. What part of your life needs the disciplined chaos of the Tandava to break free from stagnation? Think about the lessons of the kami and the gods, that true strength often lies in the choice to restrain, not to unleash. Share your thoughts on Shiva's dance of preservation in the comments below. We appreciate you joining us for this deep dive into Indian mythology. If you enjoyed this cosmic story, please comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio. Until our next journey into myth, may you find rhythm in your own life's dance.